Hey there, I'm Julie, and this is the Married to Addiction podcast. If you're here, then you're probably what I call my secret sister. We're in a situation we never asked to be in and fighting a battle we never wanted to fight. We're faith-filled women who are married to an alcoholic, and it affects every inch of our lives. If that sounds like you, then this is a safe place for you to land. Married to Addiction is a faith-based podcast where I help you find the tools and strength you need to navigate your husband's addiction without losing yourself in the process. So please subscribe and tune in as often as you can, because your husband's recovery is important, but so is yours. Hey, have you ever thought about having a podcast of your very own? If so, great news. Spotify has a platform that lets you make one super easily, then distribute it everywhere and even earn money. It's all in one place for free. It's called Spotify for Podcasters, and here's how it works. So Spotify for Podcasters lets you record and edit podcasts right from your phone or computer, so no matter what your setup is like, you can get started creating as soon as today. Then you can distribute your podcast to Spotify and everywhere else podcasts are heard. Video podcasts are also available on Spotify, so that's pretty cool. And with Spotify for Podcasters, you can earn money in a variety of ways, including ads and podcast subscriptions. And best of all, it's totally free with no catch. Ever since I discovered Spotify for Podcasters, I really just feel like it's taken my podcasting to a whole nother level. So I highly recommend you give it a try if a podcast is something that you've been thinking about as well. Just download the Spotify for Podcasters app or go to www.spotify.com/podcasters to get started. Hello, and welcome to episode 69 of the Married to Addiction podcast. Today's episode is called Don't Let Your Life Leave You Behind. But first, I'm sure you noticed, I have actually been unable to record a podcast episode for a few weeks now, due to both my parents going through some pretty significant health challenges right now. So a lot of my time and attention has been there, helping them with that. So if you think about it, next time you're praying, I would appreciate some prayers for them and for me as I navigate the situation. I'm trying to get them closer to where I live, so any prayers would be welcomed where that's concerned. But now that things have settled down at least a little bit, I'm back today, and we are going to be talking about something that I actually thought was impossible back when my husband was addicted. But it's not impossible. And I want to save you from the havoc it will wreak on your life. Today, we are talking about being stuck. So I know that you probably feel like your life revolves around your husband right now, and that your life is just kind of stopped. Like you are just on the back burner because you are way too busy worrying about him and what he's doing and how that's affecting you and your life. But I want you to know that God's plan for you hasn't stopped. God's gift of peace for you hasn't stopped. God's direction for your life also hasn't stopped. Time keeps moving, and it's time for you to start moving with it. Your husband's addiction is not a prison sentence for you. So I want to talk about today what you can do, how you can get out from under feeling like that, and how you can begin to move forward. So let's start with considering, what were you going to do, see, or be before your husband was addicted? If you're called to stay, which I'm sure you've heard me talk about before, your life doesn't stop. It's not on hold. So what were you going to do, see, or be before your husband was addicted? You can still move forward into some of that right now. If you're feeling like you're called to leave, or if you end up being called to leave, your life doesn't stop. God may just be moving you into your next thing. Regardless of whether you feel called to stay or called to leave, or even if you just don't know right now, I need you to hear that God is still paving the way for you, even now. In either case, in any case, there is more for you right now. So I want you to move with God. I want you to listen for his direction, because I guarantee you that he doesn't want you to just exist, barely making it by. I remember feeling so just like I didn't have a life anymore. I remember not knowing who I was anymore. I remember being a shell of myself and losing complete touch with everything I enjoyed doing, excuse me, with anything that I had wanted to do in the future, with any of my goals. That was just all on the back burner because I was so consumed with my husband's addiction that I felt like it was the only thing that I had the energy to even be concerned about. So there's so many things, so many different ways that this can affect us. Of course, it affects you mentally big time when you feel stuck. It also affects you physically because you feel like you can't move forward even with taking care of yourself. I definitely had that problem. You don't eat right. You don't feel like you have any energy to do any sort of physical activity. You just want comfort food and junk food, so you're not taking care of yourself physically and you feel stuck, too stuck to change that. You can make you feel stuck spiritually because you don't understand why you're having to go through this, where God is, what he's doing. You don't understand, what he's or you're seeing things that look like he's not doing anything and you don't understand why you're being abandoned by him, which is how it feels sometimes. We just can really get stuck in every way in our life when our husband is addicted because we just, like I said, put everything that has to do with us on hold and we are just in survival mode. But I want to try to reframe that for you today. What is he trying to show you in this? I had a lot of ways that I grew through my husband's addiction. I basically had a mirror in front of my face ultimately, showing me things that I needed to change, showing me things that, ways that God was trying to grow me. But I wasn't paying attention to any of that because I was so consumed with him. Like, what is he doing? Why isn't he changing? All the ways that my husband needed to change. I wasn't even thinking about the things that I needed to be doing. So what is God trying to show you through this? How is he trying to grow you? Where is he trying to take you? What can you be doing in your life that will keep you from just feeling miserable and defeated all the time? Now, of course, it's difficult when we're going through hard things and we do feel emotionally taxed. You can't just go about your business like you normally would, but you also don't just have to lay down and feel defeated all the time. So take a few minutes to think about a few specific things. Maybe what class have you always wanted to take? What hobby did you love that you don't do anymore because you've been so consumed by your husband's addiction? What goals did you set? Or maybe you even started moving towards those things and then just abandoned them midstream when your husband started drinking or started drinking more or whatever the case. What were those things? How can you still make a plan to move towards your goals? What can you do? What can you actually do? Maybe something small that you can do to move towards those goals still. Even just writing them down again, maybe. Start small, but you don't have to just sit in misery all the time. There are things that you can do to move forward. So start to think about those things. Your life hasn't stopped. I promise you, you can still move forward even now. Now, you might be saying to yourself, that feels impossible. Because, like I said a few minutes ago, maybe you just really are tapped out. You are so spent. You can't even you don't even have the energy to even write down what your goals used to be. You can't even tap into that right now. That is so far off your radar, you don't even know that you can find it. If you're feeling like that and you're hearing me say that you need to start moving forward in other areas of your life to get unstuck, and you're thinking, there is no way, then it's pretty safe to say that you have not started to work on your own recovery. Because when you start to work on your own recovery, which is, if you haven't figured it out already, the entire purpose of this podcast to get you to work on your own recovery and yourself and getting yourself in a better position. If you haven't started to work on that at all, then you're going to feel very defeated And like that is impossible to move forward. But once you do start to work on your own recovery and you start learning how to untie from the addiction, actually taking care of yourself, actually taking care of your life, and starting to feel like things are getting a little bit lighter, then you will feel automatically empowered to move forward. You'll feel empowered to get unstuck. But it starts with untying from your husband's addiction and the other things that we talk about here. Because if you are so tied up in what he's doing, of course you don't have any energy left for yourself. You're spending it all on him and worrying about him and trying to fix him and trying to change him and trying to control things. That's where all your energy is going. So until you learn how to not do those things, then yes, a lot of the things that I've talked about are going to feel impossible. But when you do them, you do empower yourself to get unstuck. So while this might not be the best time of your life to decide to scale Mount Everest, you still should be and can be moving forward with your life in some regard. Your life is not on hold. Don't let your life leave you behind. This time is passing. And as we know, time passes quickly. And you may not be able to do everything you want to do right now because your life is, not what you want it to be. But that doesn't mean you can't do anything. Just because you can't do everything doesn't mean you can't do anything. And every little step you take to move forward is still moving forward, no matter how small. So if you need some help getting started, if you think, well, I am still tied to my husband's addiction and don't know how to get out from under that, so I'll never be able to get unstuck. Well, there is a spot for you in my membership called the Secret Sister Circle. In fact, that is exactly what I created it for, is to pull women out of that spot where they feel hopeless and stuck and show them how to find peace and forward momentum. And there are many women in my membership who have already learned how to do just that. And it is so beautiful when they come on one of our Zoom meetings or, speak in our private group or post in our private group about how things have changed in their life and how they're living again. And a lot of them, their husband has not changed. Their life isn't different because their husband got sober. Their life is different because they have worked on their own recovery. They are moving forward. They have a peaceful, fulfilling life in spite of what their husbands are doing. So if that sounds like some help that you need, if you need help moving in the direction that we've talked about today to get unstuck, to not have your life on perpetual hold, then I would love to have you join us there in that membership. You can find more about that on my website, www.marriedtoaddiction.com. Just click the Need Help drop down and you will see the information for the Secret Sister Circle right there. As always, thank you so much for listening, and I will see you next time. Hey, one more quick thing before I let you go today. Do you follow Married to Addiction on either Instagram or Facebook, or both? If not, I would love to have you join me over there. It's a great place to stay connected with everything that's happening with Married to Addiction. I post updates about my podcast episodes, of course. I post about my freebies. I post about my programs. I post encouragement in the way of Bible verses and things like that. I also post just like some helpful little teaching nuggets sometimes too. So I really think that you would get a lot of value out of that as the wife of an alcoholic. And I would love to have you join me on either Facebook or Instagram, or both. You can find me at facebook.com/married to addiction or just at married to addiction on Instagram. I hope to see you there.